Well, good morning and welcome back to Proverbs, a letter to my son. Today we're going to look at lesson 11 and we'll be using the New American Standard as our base translation. This morning's discussion is looking at chapter 8 of Proverbs, and this is wisdom's testimony. Solomon was trying to get Rehoboam to see the importance of wisdom, to choose it, to make it a lifestyle. And in all of the 9 chapters at the beginning of Proverbs, he's building on what he's teaching, and he's almost to the end now, and he wants Solomon to see the importance of wisdom and why wisdom is valuable and what it will do. So this morning, we're going to look at wisdom's call, verses 1 through 11. We'll take other sections as we go, but we'll look first at wisdom's call. So, as we go through wisdom's call, we'll see where wisdom calls, who wisdom calls, what wisdom says, and why wisdom offers. So we'll start where wisdom's calls, verses 1 through 3. Does not wisdom call and understanding lift up her voice? Yes. Now, does wisdom have a voice? Not really. This is poetry. And Solomon's trying to get his son to see that wisdom speaks out through people and invites him to join them in gaining wisdom. Where wisdom calls, let's take a look. Wisdom calls on the tops of the heights. What is that? Well, it's on the hilltops where everybody can see. And then wisdom calls beside the way. What way? Well, it's on the side of the road. Wisdom calls where the paths meet. What is that? Well, that's the busiest intersections in town, even in small towns. And then beside the gates. Now, in the Old Testament, the gate was where commerce was conducted. So it's in the courts where decisions were made. And then at the opening of the city, that is, at the entrance to the city, and it says, at the entrance of the doors. What is that? The doorway of each dwelling. And she cries out and says, I am here. Come get me. Now, who does wisdom call? Let's look at verses 4 and 5. Again, we're in chapter 8. To you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. O naive ones, understand prudence. O fools, understand wisdom. So who is she calling? Well, she's calling naive ones. Look at your screen. And what does she want naive ones to do? She wants naive people to understand prudence. Now, we described this before. A naive person is one who seldom, if ever, considers the consequences of their choices in life, so they make poor decisions and have poor consequences and have to live with the poor decisions they've made. On the flip side, a prudent person always considers the consequences of his choices in life. If the results will be good and beneficial, he'll proceed. If they're hurtful or damaging or costly, then he'll refrain. So Solomon's saying, naive ones come to wisdom and learn prudence. And then fools. What about fools? Remember back in our lesson 1 with the 4 steps to learning and living the book of Proverbs, it says fools hate wisdom and knowledge. Here, wisdom's saying, come to me and I'll teach you wisdom. Now, she offers, even though she knows the fool will not respond. Now, we saw where wisdom calls. We saw who wisdom calls. Now, what does wisdom say in verses 6 through 9? Listen, for I will speak noble things, and the opening of my lips will reveal right things. For my mouth will utter truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the utterances of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing crooked or perverted in them. Notice the positive things that wisdom says. Noble things, right things. Wisdom speaks the truth. It speaks in righteousness, legal, right, and good. But on the flip side, wisdom doesn't speak wickedness at all. There's nothing crooked or perverted in wisdom. People can say crooked and perverted things, but that's not wisdom. Notice what else the text says. They are all straightforward to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. These truths are all easy to understand by a person who understands what's right and has knowledge of the Scriptures. So we saw where wisdom calls, who wisdom calls, what wisdom says. Now we're going to see why wisdom offers. And this is all under the heading, wisdom calls. Verse 10, take my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choicest gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all desirable things cannot compare with her. It's the most valuable thing you can ever find. It's worth more than anything or anyone. And I encourage you to go back to chapter 2 and look at the 3 searches that lead to wisdom, and engage in those searches, the passive, the active, and the continual search for wisdom. And in time, you will find knowledge, understanding, insight, discretion, and at that point, God will give you wisdom. Now, we saw wisdom's call. Now let's look at wisdom's companions. Under this heading, we're going to look at wisdom's family, verse 12, wisdom's conviction in verse 13, wisdom's guidance in verses 14 to 16, wisdom's devotion in verse 17, wisdom's profit in verses 18 and 19, and finally, wisdom's reward in verses 20 to 21. So let's look at wisdom's family. Who is wisdom's family? Well, verse 12 says, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and I find knowledge and discretion. Wisdom and prudence are more than roommates. They are together. Prudence is part of wisdom. And what did we say prudence was? Making good decisions with good results. We say that wisdom is the best means to the best end. Yes, but prudence is how to get there. We make good decisions. What about wisdom's conviction? The fear of the Lord is to hate evil. Pride, arrogance, and the evil way, and the perverted mouth, I hate. What is I? I is wisdom. I hate pride, arrogance, and anything that evil, and any twisted words that come out of the mouth. I hate those. So if we get wisdom, if we acquire wisdom and maintain it, then we won't say anything that's perverted. Now, wisdom's guidance. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding. Power is mine. Okay, we understand that. How is it displayed? Well, it says, by me kings reign and rulers decree justice. How do they stay in power? Because they're wise, they're knowledgeable, and they do work and decisions like they should. And then by me princes rule and nobles, all who judge rightly. Wisdom enables these people to do their job and to stay in power for a long time. Now, wisdom's reward, what is it? Riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, even pure gold, and my yield better than choicest silver. Notice as we start into verse 18, riches and honor are with me. Well, obviously those riches are not precious metals. They're not money. It's riches far beyond that. Long-lasting riches that we can take to glory with us, and honor. You want a good reputation? Find and use wisdom. It's worth more than anything you can find. Now, we looked at wisdom's call. We saw wisdom's companions. Now let's look at wisdom's credentials, verses 22 through 31. We're going to break this section up into 2 parts. First part is before creation. Look at the text. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way, before his works of old, before he did anything to create the universe or the world. From everlasting I was established, from the beginning, from the earliest times of the earth. When there were no depths, I was brought forth, and when there were no springs abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills I was brought forth, while he had not yet made the earth and the fields, nor the first dust of the earth. Notice, it's interesting. Some folks try to say that the Lord in Proverbs is wisdom. I disagree with that. Other parts of the scripture, it actually says that the Lord is wisdom. But in Proverbs here, look at your screen. The Lord possessed me. It's not the Lord. It's something the Lord possessed. Possessed me at the beginning of his ways, way back at the beginning of the beginning of the beginning, wherever that was. We can't even comprehend all that. Notice it says, from everlasting, from the beginning, from the earliest times of the earth. So wisdom was with the Lord before he created. And I'm sure wisdom was what the Lord used to decide how to make the things that he created, how to design them. I'm tickled that scientists still can't understand some of the things that the Lord has done in creation. Then, during creation, this is the second half of this segment, let's read it. When he established the heavens, I was there. Who is I? That's wisdom. When he inscribed a circle on the face of the deep, when he made firm the skies above, when the springs of the deep became fixed, when he set for the sea its boundary so that the water would not transgress his command, when he marked out the foundations of the earth. Then I was beside him as a master workman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing the world, his earth, and having my delight in the sons of men. Notice, I was there when creation took place. I was right beside the Lord, and I was his master workman. I was what gave him the understanding to make everything so tremendously complex and work together. Oh, the creation is so amazing. So wisdom was there. These are wisdom's credentials. That's the end of the chapter. But you can see the value of wisdom. Solomon was trying to get Rehoboam to choose wisdom. He started in chapter 1 by telling the 4 steps to learning and living the book. Then he told him about the fact that he needed to have a biblical fear of the Lord in order to accomplish those 4 steps. Then he showed them that he needed to reject friends that would entice him to join them in their sinful practices. Otherwise, he couldn't say that he had a biblical fear of the Lord. And then Solomon said, don't reject wisdom. That's the end of chapter 1. In chapter 2, he said, there are 3 searches you need to engage in so that you will find the fear of the Lord that ultimately leads to wisdom. And you'll choose good and godly friends and live in a good and godly manner. And then in chapter 3, he showed wisdom with the boots on, the blessings that come from doing good, and the security that comes by not doing evil. Then in chapter 4, he showed why we need to pursue and live wisdom. Then in chapters 5, parts of chapter 6, all of chapter 7, part of chapter 9, we saw the adulteress and the devastating end of it. And then we saw how to have adultery-proof a marriage. That was wonderful. And now in chapter 8, we saw wisdom's value. In our next lesson, we'll look at Proverbs chapter 9. I hope you'll join me for that. It's absolutely beautiful. It shows an expanded view of Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7. And it is absolutely beautiful. The logic is fascinating. I hope you'll join me for that. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next lesson. I hope you'll join me. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you then. Thank you.